There is a kind of silence that falls right before a storm, a silence so heavy you can feel it pressing against your chest, and that is exactly what I feel right now, staring at the calendar, watching the days bleed away one by one, because the Clarity Act, the bill that could decide the entire future of crypto in America, has only a handful of working days left to live or die on the Senate floor. A few short days, that is it. That is the whole fragile thread this dream is hanging from. And I need you to feel the weight of that with me, because this is not just politics. This is our future. This is Bitcoin's future. This is the future of every single person who ever believed in this technology when the world laughed at us. Before we go further into this storm together, I need you here with me, truly with me. So if you have not yet subscribed to Crypto 101 Central, please do it now, because I do not want you to miss a single beat of what is coming next. And while you are at it, hit that little bell, because notifications are the difference between knowing the truth the moment it happens and finding out too late. And in this market, in this fight, too late can cost you everything. Anthony Scaramucci said it with a rawness that cut straight through the noise. If this bill hits the floor, it has a strong pathway to pass, but if it does not reach the floor, it risks facing a brutal outcome. Brutal. That word sat with me for a long time, because behind every chart, every headline, every political maneuver, there are real builders, real dreamers, people like Brian Armstrong, who poured years of their lives, their sweat, their sleepless nights, into building something meaningful here, only to watch politicians decide whether that dream gets to breathe on American soil or whether it gets exiled overseas, forced to grow roots in someone else's country because our own government could not find the courage to say yes. Summer recess begins soon, stretching through late summer, and if this bill does not reach the floor before that recess swallows Washington whole, it may not resurface in time before the midterm elections, and by then, the moment, this moment, the one we are living in right now, will have slipped through our fingers like sand. Genius Act passed roughly a year ago, and for long months we have watched, waited, hoped, while Clarity Act sat in limbo, and now here we are, standing at the edge, watching the clock tick louder than my own heartbeat. And it is not only Scaramucci who feels this urgency burning in his chest. Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon stepped into the light and said it plainly. It is time. Congress needs to move. We need a clear regulatory framework because Goldman has plans here, real plans, and this hesitation is costing all of us. The bill itself was not perfect. Nothing this important ever is, but it had been reshaped, strengthened, given new ethics rules, protections for developers who simply write code and should not be punished for how others use it, stronger enforcement against actual crime, real bankruptcy protections for people who have watched their savings vanish into exchanges that collapsed overnight. Galaxy Digital's Alex Thorne called it a good bill, one that protects investors while still leaving room for innovation to breathe, a bill that could plant the American flag at the center of digital asset markets for the next generation. But then, like a shadow crossing over a warm afternoon, Elizabeth Warren appeared, cold and certain, telling the world to vote no, calling the bill dead on arrival, saying it fails to protect investors, saying it lets criminals move money freely, saying this is not regulation, this is a giveaway. I sat with her words, too, because fear deserves to be heard, but so does hope, and Trump fired back almost instantly, refusing to let that fear write the ending, saying America never settles for second place, not in crypto, not anywhere, saying we are leading the world in innovation and we intend to stay there, because other nations, other powers, they would love nothing more than to take this away from us. And underneath all of this noise, all of this political tug of war, something quieter and more human was happening. Joe Shalom, former BlackRock, now leading SharpLink, sat down and explained, gently, why this bill actually matters beyond the headlines. He said if you build software, you should not be punished for what someone else does with it, but if you hold someone's assets, you should be held responsible, and that distinction alone could change everything for developers who have been living in fear for years. He said crypto moves on momentum, on belief, on narrative, and even a small gust of legislative wind could send this entire industry soaring. He said when a government finally gives its blessing, institutions stop moving cautiously and start moving with confidence. And tokenization, something that once sounded like science fiction, becomes simply how finance works. As we look deeper into understanding this moment, I keep thinking about Uber because Scaramucci brought it up and it would not leave my mind. Governments hated Uber. Mayors hated Uber. Every taxi commission in the country hated Uber. But the people loved it, and the people won. He said crypto is walking that same painful road right now, better technology fighting against old fear, and eventually, he believes, the people will win this too, because you cannot legislate away something that simply works better than what came before it. Think about the entire global investable asset market, stocks, bonds, real estate, gold, worth hundreds of trillions of dollars, and right now only a tiny fraction of that vast pool has actually been tokenized. The growth potential is enormous, as institutions work behind the scenes building regulated infrastructure, establishing legal frameworks, and laying foundations for long-term digital asset integration before the broader crowd fully realizes what is taking shape. Now, as we continue this journey together, I have to ask you something honestly. If any part of this has moved you, if you felt that flicker of hope or fear or anticipation while listening, please hit that like button. It genuinely tells me you are here, feeling this with me, not just watching. And please, leave a comment. Tell me what you think happens in these critical days. Tell me if you believe Congress will find the courage, or if this bill collapses under its own political weight, because I read every single one. And your voice becomes part of this story too. While we wait for Washington to decide our fate, the market itself has been whispering something different, something quieter but just as important. BitMEX, the original Bitcoin derivatives exchange, the one that invented perpetual swaps, the one that gave us extreme leverage back when most people could not even spell blockchain, announced it is shutting down after over a decade in business. Over 10 years of history, gone. And it hit me harder than I expected, because endings like this often mark the closing of one chapter right before another begins. Scaramucci sat across from financial news hosts and calmly explained why he believes Bitcoin may be consolidating near its broader cyclical floor, listing reason after reason, momentum indicators sitting near historical lows, fear gauges sitting deep in extreme fear territory, liquid circulating supply tightening across exchanges, and search interest down significantly from past highs. He suggested that when market sentiment reaches these quiet extremes, historical patterns indicate the risk-reward ratio often begins shifting toward potential recovery. And just when doubt about quantum computing threats started creeping into conversations again, several major institutions, including BlackRock, Fidelity, Coinbase, and Strategy, announced the Bitcoin Security Consortium, pledging multi-million-dollar funding over the coming years to strengthen Bitcoin's defenses for whatever the future brings. Bitcoin quietly, patiently getting stronger while the world argues about paperwork. We are almost at the end of this walk together, but before you go, I need you to know something. This industry, this technology, it is not going away, no matter how many politicians hesitate, no matter how many recesses steal our time, no matter how many old systems resist. Crypto is the Uber of finance, and the people always find a way to win eventually. If this story moved something in you, go watch the next video waiting for you on Crypto 101 Central, and do not forget to hit that bell, because these coming days could change everything, and I refuse to let you miss a single moment of it.